Thank you, Mr Acting President. I rise today to speak on the motion brought to the House by the Honourable Colin Ticknell. I will reflect briefly on the Honourable Robin Scott's speech, he touched on something that I've often been thinking about as well, particularly up in the Northern Territory. He touched on how we build the housing, particularly in remote areas for our Indigenous Australians. And one of the things that I often thought, seeing a housing project up in the Northern Territory, was we went out there and built 3x2 housing, which was something you'd see in the city, spent millions of dollars, and then within a couple of months there was the media crew out there blowing up how these houses had been destroyed. And you walk in there and there was a kangaroo in the oven, the microwave was melted to the bench, and all these things that had happened. There was a fire in the middle of the lounge room that had been created. And if a conversation had have happened, I've always felt there would have been a different design put, similar to what the Honourable Robin Scott said. And speaking to the Minister McGinn, this was something that did happen back in the 80s under a Labor government, Ninga Maya, and what actually happened was, from what the Minister's recollection, was that the media turned on that big time and sort of said that it was substandard living, and that the government should have done better and built better housing. Now, I think the media does play a big role in a lot of this stuff as well, like it does in all politics. But I definitely can say that I do agree with the Honourable Robin Scott in that space, that there has to be a way that we work closer on ensuring that we're doing the appropriate housing, not just something that we think people are going to sit to and fit into and change their lifestyle for. There is a better process in that space. I have been recently, due to COVID, there has been an organisation that's been leading the way, particularly in the goldfields, around homelessness and rough sleeping, and that's Bega. Bega has done an amazing job in the goldfields, particularly Erica Cassidy, who has created a task force on homelessness and rough sleepers in the goldfields. Well, that's been going now for many months, and it was originally created for the COVID stuff, but it's now turned into being bringing in all the organisations, stop working in silos, collaboration, having governments involved, having departments involved, having members of Parliament involved, and starting to work out where the gaps are and how we fill them gaps. And some of the great things that have happened out of that is identifying particularly food processes on how people are getting fed, where the short stays have gaps, where people could be staying, and also how to access grant funding, particularly around the Lottery West stuff that's now changed through the COVID process, which again has worked really well. I know that's worked really well up in Carnarvon, who we delivered over $200,000 to Feed the Mob program, which feeds over 26,000 meals in the next 6 months, which is an amazing thing. Something that you have to think about when we talk about homelessness is something I haven't heard in this debate, is who's doing it right? Who in the world is doing it right? And that's a genuine question. I know there was a sigh behind me, but it is who is doing it right. Because I know from the Northern Territory perspective that has a high Indigenous population as well, we can't turn around and say that they're doing it right. I know from back when I was living there was issues with homelessness as well. And I was interested to see if there was going to be a case study or an example put forward by the member around, okay, well, I didn't hear it today. There was no solution put. It was just blame game, which is exactly all I heard during your speech, was just blame, blame, blame. So if you had came here with a solution and put it on the floor, we could have had a proper debate on that. But instead, you chose to go down cheap political points, member, which I think is just disgraceful.
Order, members. The Honourable Kyle McGinn is defending himself quite adequately wherewithout additional support from the sidelines. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Honourable Kyle McGinn has the call.
Thank you, Mr Acting President. Another issue that I see with homelessness as well that I think we need to identify is there's so many issues that go with why somebody is homeless. And it's about trying to treat as best we can them symptoms early on, to try and give them more opportunity to people to not be in that situation. And I am proud of some of the things we've done in that space, particularly the Family Domestic Violence Hub that's being set up in Kalgoorlie. that is going to be an amazing resource. Also, the Step Up, Step Down facility, which is for mental health issues, you know, a place where we can start treating the problems that are creating more hardships for people, that is in turn ending in homelessness. These are the things that we need to treat. You know, we've got our Target 120 program, which is rolled out, particularly I know in the Goldfields region, which is targeting kids that are at risk, which is trying to get the families to fix the problems that are happening at home. As I know the Honourable Robin Scott said, alcohol, it's a massive issue in my electorate, and I'm sure in broader Western Australia. It's everywhere, and you know, and I agree with him. It is a big problem, and there are programs that we're running, and I'm sure past governments have run programs. And again, is there a fix that's happening somewhere else that we need to look at? I know I've been a big advocate for myself around the banned drinking register, and trying to find a way for us to not just stop people drinking, but show assistance on recovering from being an alcoholic. And that's something that we didn't see under the welfare program out in the Goldfields with the welfare card. It was brought in to try and stop gambling and alcohol and everything else, but where were the services that come with that? The wraparound. We would have been able to identify people that have drinking issues through that process, but instead we rolled it out across all welfare recipients and just tarred everyone with the same brush and called them all alcoholics and gamblers. To me, it wasn't a successful program. And I'd like to see, and I know we are working on seeing a trial in the Pilbara on the banned drinking register. And I would love to see, and I have been saying to the Minister, how we get that rolled out further. And I know in the Goldfields it is something that is supported by many of the liquor outlets and by the council and by a lot of the leaders in the town as well. So I will just finish up on that there are things happening, Honourable Member. I know I'm very proud of Bega in the Goldfields for taking a leadership role in that space. Erica's doing a great job. It's not always easy getting these organisations into the room. It can be quite a challenge, but she's doing a great job doing that, and the outcomes are definitely showing, if not slowly, but surely we'll see some more outcomes in that space. Thank you very much.